Hello and welcome to an episode of Shelve, Store, or Sell here on Crushing Comics. I'm your host, Crisis with a K, and this program is about pulling out my short boxes, of which there are about 150, and seeing what is in them and why they're in there, and if I want to keep them. The last time I saw a lot of this material was when I was packing it from the United States in 2017 to move to New Zealand, or in some instances, I maybe threw some additional stuff into boxes at the end of 2019 when I moved into this house. But the point being is it's not shelved here and I haven't seen it for far too long, and there's a reason that it's in my collection, I hope, and if not, it's time to give it the boot. Here's the thing. This is a rare thing in this collection of 150 boxes. It has a number, 1083. It has no description on it whatsoever. I have no idea. I see that it's pretty thick trades. Oh my gosh. And it is real darn heavy. And I do not have the slightest idea of what's in here, why it's a group. I have no idea. And the fact that it's not labeled tells me it's probably not going to be obvious either. So let's dig in, shall we? And try to figure out what is the theme of this mystery box. The first one is 1 Month to Live. This is written by, I want to say, Jonathan Hickman. So this was a weird little series. It came out and is actually written by rotation of not Hickman, Remender. Rick Remender, Rob Williams, Stuart Moore, John Ostrander, very rarely writes for Marvel, and again by Rick Remender. And this came out, I want to say, in 2009 or 2010, and it didn't really fit in with any one comic book. It was like, there basically was this normal dude, family man Dennis Sykes must answer that very question when he learns, what's the question? I should read the headline first. What would you do with 1 month to change the world? Family man Dennis Sykes must answer that very question when he learns his life will be cut short. He's got terminal cancer, but he also has the ability to mold solid matter at will. And that leads him to run in with Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the Avengers. So here's the thing. This was at the time, I don't know if Marvel Unlimited existed yet, but I know I didn't have Marvel Unlimited yet. And if you wanted to read this, you had to buy it, right? And so I just was buying everything Marvel at that point. And not maybe to the point that I was in Marvel now. There was a couple things that I maybe hadn't cottoned onto and skipped. But I saw this said Rick Remender, who I was getting to be a fan of because of Uncanny X-Force. And I was like, okay, I guess I want it. It retailed for $20, so I probably got it for like $12 or maybe even got it secondhand. I read it once, and clearly virtually none of it has stuck with me. Would I sell this book? Well, here's the thing. I need to decide for myself at some point in the series what my cutoff for a physical collection is. I know that it's no later than the end of 2012. I do plan to get rid of any Marvel that I have from after 2012. It's all available digitally. There's no reason I need to have it physically. But I'm in a little bit of a gray area from, let's say, the beginning of the trade era in 2004 to 2012. I have really just about every single physical release that Marvel did in that period of a comic released in that period. And so it kind of feels all or nothing to me. Like, I'm not going to sell this one book, nor, by the way, do I think anybody on the planet, or certainly not in New Zealand, is looking for a copy of this. But so I guess I'm like going to keep it until I won't. Like, at some point I might try to move that whole collection and be like, hey, I'm selling Marvel 2006 through 2012. But that time has not come. So this is a store. Okay, next. Gosh, what is this? Models Inc. Fashion Week is always a hectic time for models, and this year is no exception. And I'm sure that this looks like a Greg Land illustration to me, but he's not. What? Look, I got it in a poly bag like it's something special. What is this? What is this? Between escaped wolves, robbery attempts, and overly friendly police officers. Tony Turner, Patsy Walker, Jill Gerald, Chili Storm, and Millicent Millie the Model Collins are testing the limits of their endurance. It's a modeling book featuring Hellcat. It's, you know, it's weird. It's on non-glossy paper. It's on a matte finish paper, so you're not going to see a lot of reflections. It's nice though. It's built nicely. It's I mean, it's got these covers that are like magazine covers. And then letters from the editor that reference, in-story letters from the editor that reference these old comic books. Or maybe it's not in, is it in universe? In the beginning, we lived in the trees. Eventually, all right, that's not helpful. Today, we're paying tribute to those who dress up and dress down. Yeah. Later as new members of the Marvel Universe. All right, so this is not written diegetically inside of the Marvel Universe. This is an editor actually making a comment. I mean, I guess I have it because Hellcat. I mean, I have it because I have everything Marvel. I'm kind of curious to read it. Like, it's not like Hellcat has so much material that she's in, so I kind of want to read it for that, but I don't know. I have not the slightest idea. So that's a keep. That's a store purely out of morbid curiosity. Also, like, I kind of understand this box now. Like, where are those books supposed to go? I guess if I had like a Hellcat box, I could put down the H for Hellcat, but where would the One Life to Live or 1 Month to Live go? All right, next. Oh, this is Carnage Classic. It collects a whole bunch of Carnage. Mostly, well, it collects a bunch of Amazing Spider-Man and then some Carnage miniseries from the 90s. So I probably picked it up because I was like, oh, is there ever going to be another reprint of these? Maybe not. So this was printed in 2016. So it's pretty late in my collecting. Yeah, this tracks. I really would pick up these classic type things. I know I have a lot of the Venom classics. Maybe they're in here too. Who knows? So this is kind of just like a companion piece to the Venom classics because it has Carnage Unleashed 1 through 4, Carnage Mind Bomb, Carnage It's a Wonderful Life, and then some Spectacular Spider-Man issues as well. So mostly I have it to fill in those Carnage issues, I think. I think if I had a Venom shelf going, and maybe at some point we'll get to the Venom books, I would come back and take this out because I would want this on the shelf with the Venom books. But for now, it's like I don't really have a Spider-Man shelf except for my Spider-Man Epics. I guess it is kind of epic sized, but my ruling is that I would shelve it with Venom as part of Symbiote Club. And since I don't have Venom shelved yet, it is a store until I shelve Venom. God, this box is really testing the limits of my knowledge here. Okay, next we have the Champions Classic. This is, by the way, when I talk about small Marvel Classic collections, this is how small Marvel Classic collections used to be. I mean, they weren't trying real hard to collect a lot of comics. This does have 11 issues in it, but it's just, these two together would be one epic collection. And in fact, this Champion Masterworks has all of this material and more, and you can see how much thicker it is, but they got it all into one book. So these Champions Classics collect Champions 1 through 11, and then 12 through 17, Iron Man Annual 4, Avengers 163, Supervillain Team Up 14, and Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man 17 and 18. And that is exactly what is in this with the addition of Hulk Annual number 7. So I have this. I remember actually I was like, am I going to buy this? Because I had these. But they're like, these classics, I mean, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. They're on a pleasing paper, I've always felt. They're readable. It's complete. It doesn't skip anything. But given the chance to have it in a single Marvel Masterworks that was like a big honker, I took the Masterworks option. I think these are officially a sell. I mean, I had them because of Angel and Iceman, because to put together my whole X-Men reading order, I needed to be able to read Champions, and so I had it to read it. And I haven't ever read it all the way through sequentially. They're not in the best shape. There's like a little bit of a corner fold here on this back corner. So I'm almost certain that I got them secondhand because my books don't look like that. And they serve their purpose. I wrote my original version of the X-Men reading order, but now I have the Masterworks. So I think this is a sell, right? Sell. All right, next up, more random Carnage. Carnage USA. Now, this is a much later, more modern Carnage from Carnage USA, written by Zeb Wells. I've definitely read this, although I have no recollection of it whatsoever. And so this feels like it's misfiled in this random box. I mean, it is a Carnage thing, but it feels like it should be in a box of like 2010 to 2012 specifically. So I guess I'm going to keep it with that Carnage Classic for now, but that's where it should go. So then I have these two Clandestine books. Clandestine was this team that Alan Davis wrote as kind of like a spin-off to Excalibur, which was very much Claremont's creation. And so this was Davis doing something similar that was also kind of connected to the X-Men, but they're not mutants. They've existed hidden among mankind for centuries, a mysterious bloodline of superhumans, eternal and apart. But they're not the Eternals either. They're just clandestine. It's like one of these things where I think you know, he was trying to make an addition to the Marvel Universe in the same way as Kirby's Eternals or the Inhumans or something, and it never really caught fire. So this one collects Clandestine 1 through 5, which is one Clandestine series. This one collects Clandestine 1 through 8, and then X-Men Clandestine 1 through 1 and 2. This, by the way, is a really thick Marvel standard size paperback. Marvel standard size paperbacks generally would either be brand new collections, which are Marvel Premiere Editions, which this actually is technically, although it came out after the series came out. Or they're those Marvel Premiere Classics, none of which were very, very thick, generally. The thickest ones are maybe this thick. So it is, I'm going to take the dust jacket off because this is really, oh, it's got that nice red deboss. And it's, gosh, this maybe has never been opened before. It's really a nice build quality, honestly. I mean, it's got like a tailband. It's, you know, is it sewn signatures or is it glued just with a tailband to throw us off? It might be sewn. But you know what? It's really kind of a nice book, and it's big for Marvel to do this kind of format in. So that's fun. I'm tempted to say shelve it, but like, to what end? Like, where would it go? My clandestine shelf. The only other really notable clandestine story is Alan Davis did a series of annual crossovers, I think like in 2012, because one of them is an annual that like weirdly falls kind of with the Wade of Daredevil volume, but not really. And then there's a Wolverine annual and like a Thor annual, maybe Fantastic Four in there too. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but that's really the only other major clandestine story. I think these are going to get, I would shelve them eventually if I had just a big shelf of like all Marvel properties, but given the shelf space right now, and given that it's not like a favorite of mine, I think it remains a store. But definitely keep. These are nice. I doubt it's ever going to get recollected. I mean, Davis is a name, but Davis has so much other stuff to collect. So I think it's just a store for now. Let's do a few more, then we'll take a break and come back, because this box, I mean, I have to keep context shifting for every single thing. But I understand now that this is the mishmash box. Oh boy, it's a mash. It's a monster mash in this case. Here is Marvel's Frankenstein, the Monster of Frankenstein. This collects Frankenstein 1 through 18 from 1975, and then a bunch of other horror stuff where he popped up. Has some black and white art in it. This is one of these things that is kind of epic sized, but there's no reason to do an epic line. They could have done a one and done epic, which they're more willing to do now than they were. I think if they were to re-release this now, I want to say it's probably like 2015 or 2016. 2015. If they were to do this now, I bet they would do it as an epic just to do it. But it's pretty much the epic build quality. It's the epic thickness. I think it's an epic. It's one of these proto-epics or pseudo-epics. And I think this is actually a shelve, weirdly. I know that there's an amount of this kind of Marvel 70s horror stuff that's gone into color. There's that Son of Satan classic, which we recently saw. There's like Man-Thing and Werewolf by Night and Tomb of Dracula, some of which I have an omnibus. But this, I don't have an omnibus, nor would I buy it in omnibus. But I kind of feel like I know that I have that group of stuff, and I do want to have that on shelf. So this is a rare shelve. Good stuff. All right, we have one more collection before we take a break on this box. And this collection is of Damage Control. It is the Damage Control Complete Collection. There are a trio of Damage Control miniseries, 2 from 1989, 1 from 1991, and then it collects some later Damage Control stuff from World War Hulk after Smash Damage Control, which is over a decade later, actually 2 decades later. So I definitely picked this up just to get those Damage Control minis. A lot of heroes bop in and out of them. I think at the time I was probably thinking, oh, if the X-Men intersect with this at all, this will be good to check for the X-Men reread. It's critical Marvel stuff. It's got some Fantastic Four. It's got some Thor, it's got Spider-Man. Basically, Damage Control is like the insurance recovery agency that like cleans up New York, mostly, after all of these epic disasters caused by Marvel's merry mayhem creating band of, I was going to say mutants, but heroes in general. So I had every reason to buy this. Also, it's by McDuffie. And McDuffie is just a really great, Dwayne McDuffie is just a really great comic writer. In fact, he wrote all of it, every dang thing in it, according to this. So, this is a keep. I'm not getting rid of this. It's a perfect collection of everything Damage Control. There's nothing else you would want in it. I don't know that it's a shelve right now. It doesn't like fit into a category the way that Frankenstein did, like horror books from the 70s, but it's not going anywhere. I'm going to keep it. So I'm starting to get that this box is like a very lightly alphabetized box of random stuff I could not figure out where to put other places. And that maybe was just too long to write on the box label. So I'm going to pause here. We're going to continue with another episode and there's some more big books in here, and I've not looked ahead. I do not know what they are. So next time we're going to come back and we're going to continue exploring this box full of random Marvel trade paperbacks. Until then, I've been Crisis with a K, your host here on Crushing Comics, and this has been Shelve, Store, or Sell. Thanks so much for watching.